Welcome back to the JMP's Awesomeness. Today we're going to be talking about weird cases of comas. I selected a few. I'm going through a couple different articles I found online. And Jay has no idea what the actual incidences are. I'm just going to be telling him so you get to actually hear his genuine reaction today.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting because, it's going to be cool. I don't know.
Like, everyone always hears about people in a coma or something at one point or another. When I was a kid, there was a big case of some woman. I remember she had, like, kids and a husband and stuff. She ended up in a coma, and I remember it was a big thing about the husband wanted her off life support, but her parents didn't, and I can't actually remember what happened. I think eventually she did get taken off, and
Yeah,
and
I've
she
heard
died.
about this one, too. I'm pretty sure she died.
This was pretty big when I was a kid, but a lot of these actually, there's actually, I think, one of the articles where somebody wanted to leave him on life support over a murder charge because it's a girl. I'll get into it later more, but the guy and his wife, he was a stepdad or something like that, or step uncle, something like that. He beat her and she ended up in a coma. And the state wanted to take her off life support, but he wanted to leave her on. And the basic reasoning behind it is if he took her off, he'd also be charged with murder because she died.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great reason to keep someone on life support.
But what ended up actually happening, well, I'll get into that later because it's actually a cool twist because certain things, taking people off doesn't always kill them. And that's going to come up today. So
Occasionally they pull through.
they definitely do, but they never pull out.
I never do.
You don't have any kids, though. It'd be funny if I said that. Because
I've been
like more true. Or you're just impotent. We'll find out. Check in next week. But first one I'm going to bring up is actually the second in this list. The first one's a little girl, something with the Mamma Mia song. She was in a coma, woke up. They would play the Mamma Mia or whatever movie that's from.
Was that like Broadway or some crap?
I don't know. I think it's a movie. ABBA's pop hit. Yeah, Mamma Mia. So it's a singer, I guess. I know the song. I guess I should know more about that because I am alive. But I don't. Either way, she woke up. She was like 3, I think, or something. She wasn't really much of a talker beforehand, but she woke up singing the words to that song, I guess, because they played it so much while she was in a coma.
So she heard it subconsciously and then...
Yeah, woke up singing it. But the one I really want to get into is the 3-year-old girl who started smoking and drinking after waking up from a coma.
What?
Yes, and here's a picture of her. She's like a little Asian girl.
She looks like a little Asian old man. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, like a little Asian old woman. Yeah, I guess an old man.
The short hair, kind of.
Well, yeah. Maybe she's only 3. Give her time.
Yeah, that's true. I'm being judgmental.
But it talks about how she mysteriously picked up an addiction from of cigarettes and alcohol after surviving a road crash. Her name is Ya Wen. Has been smoking up to a pack a day since accident where she was hit by a speeding van.
She's 3?
Yeah, it says that she's 3. I mean, she's probably older now. I don't know when this article came out, but her parents say that her personality has changed since leaving the hospital, where she recovered from 5 days in a coma. So she wasn't in a coma for super long. Only 5 days. That's not even a full week.
Yeah.
But apparently, since she woke up, her personality's been different. And her mother says, her mother's name is Gao or something, Gao, so that she started acting like an adult. She found her daughter hiding in a toilet and smoking her father's cigarettes. At first, she just thieved them.
She's a klepto, too.
Yeah, she started stealing them, but now gets them on credit at a local shop. So
On credit?
apparently in China, I believe she's from China.
So there's no smoking laws in China, apparently.
Or, I think that's where the majority of child labor comes from.
That's true.
I could be inaccurate, so don't judge me.
I'm not going to mention any companies, but you know.
Quite a few. Our mall is littered with them.
Yes.
And the phone I'm using now, actually. But, so it says that she started acting like an adult, and she was stealing them and getting them on credit from a local shop, which is just ridiculous. I mean, I guess that's just the Western way of thinking that stores shouldn't give children cigarettes on credit, but whatever.
Yeah.
This is Gao, who lives in a shelter, and her daughter has now been addicted to smoking for a year and has also changed her preference in clothes. She only wears clothes like boys. So apparently she's become a man after the accident. Yeah, interesting indeed.
So to me, this sounds like almost, people believe in reincarnation. It's almost like she went into a coma and was reincarnated as this old man
Who likes to smoke
who
cigarettes.
chain smokes.
There's actually what I'm going to get to in a little bit about an old man that is going to definitely be eventful because it's an
gonna
amazing
blow my
story.
mind,
Oh
isn't it?
yeah, you're not going to see this one coming. But it says that her dad stopped smoking. So apparently she's like at least 4 now because it says that she's been addicted for a year.
Wow.
So it says that her dad also stopped smoking and they moved to the other side of the city, but she still cries for cigarettes and stuff whenever she sees them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane.
This one's really good. It's the coma boy who told his mom to fuck off. A mother waited 41 days for her injured son to come out of a coma, only for him to tell her to fuck off. It was his way of telling her he was going to be okay.
What kind of relationship do you have with your mom if the first thing you say to her when you wake up is "fuck off, mom"?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing that they're British because it says mum, M-U-M, not mom. So fuck off is a big thing in that area. So she was looking forward to her son whispering his first words since cheating death in a car crash. But instead of a touching exchange, the 22-year-old swore at her, which we already went over. But instead of being upset or anything, she actually cried with relief. You know, just glad that her son's okay. He suffered, I guess, serious head injuries and a broken neck. But faces 2 years of rehabilitation, but his mother is optimistic that he will make a good recovery. This one...
I wonder what prompted him to just... I don't know, maybe I've never been in a coma, obviously, so I don't know what my first reaction would be like. Or, yeah, fuck off, mom.
I don't know, maybe she nagged him a lot or something, or maybe this woman was like, fuck off. Like, I don't know. It's like a lot of British shows I watch. I'm not too up to date on their culture, I guess, but a lot of the things I watch, like, you know, they say fuck off a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like, it's almost like a hello. Like, so I don't know, maybe
I don't know if I ever told my mom to fuck off, she'd be like mortified.
that's just again with that whole Western view of things, you know.
I guess so, yeah.
Can't give kids cigarettes on credit, can't say fuck off to your mom, you know. I don't know. This one I'm just gonna like quickly graze over. This mother to be was coma induced to save her baby. I think it says they already had 2 kids, this woman and her husband. And she was pregnant with a third, and they all came down with the H1N1 virus, like that's the swine flu, I believe.
Yeah, that mosquito.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was mosquito caused. She was taken to the hospital with breathing difficulties, whatever. They felt it was safer to put her into a coma because of how far along she was in the pregnancy and how sick she was getting.
Okay.
And then they gave her a C-section, and the baby only weighed 2 pounds and 10 ounces.
Yikes.
But I guess the baby's okay, and she opened her eyes a week later. She couldn't understand her flat stomach. Then through all the confusion and whatnot, she discovered that she had delivered a baby boy, a third boy.
Yeah, that would freak me out. I mean, physically, I can't have babies because I lack the parts of a female. But
You could have a baby, you just wouldn't be the one to birth it.
Exactly. But that would freak anybody out, I think.
Well, waking up finding, well, I mean, she knew she was pregnant. She was only out for a week. I don't think she woke up with any kind of like memory loss other than like the week that she was out. So
yeah.
She just didn't realize she already had the kid. So that would freak you out. But
I just don't understand why with pregnancy, I don't understand that whole thing because I've never been with a girl that was pregnant or got a girl pregnant or anything like that. But why wouldn't they just take the baby out, you know, when she came in? I don't understand. Maybe she was too sick. I don't know.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
We're going to have to do some more research on this baby.
See how he turned out.
Yeah.
This next one, I'm going to graze over it again. It's worth a mention. She forgot her life after being put into a coma. Apparently, she started experiencing, at 23 years of age, a lot of very violent, prolonged seizures. Her partner rushed to the hospital, and she was induced into a 3-week coma to try and save her life. She was eventually diagnosed with encephalitis, an illness. I've never heard of it, but
no, me neither.
It causes an inflammation of the brain via a virus, usually caused apparently by a mosquito bite.
Damn these mosquitoes.
Yeah, I mean
they're
cause
messing with
problems.
everybody's shit, babies and
just avoid them.
Just people in general.
They outnumber us quite a bit too. So, but when she woke up, her memory had been totally wiped. She could no longer do the simplest of tasks. Even walking and talking had to be relearned.
Whoa.
Yep, she spent 11 months in special centers in Leeds and York, alongside other victims of brain damage. I guess maybe she had brain damage.
Yeah, you said her brain swelled up, so...
Yeah, it caused inflammation and stuff, so I don't know if it was damaged, but I don't know. She was alongside, serving police officers and soldiers from Afghanistan. I guess she still suffers from short-term memory loss and lacks confidence in certain areas, but recovery steps have won her a nomination for Most Determined Learner in the Kirklees Committee Adult Learning Awards.
I couldn't even imagine just not knowing anything. Like, you wake up from a coma and you can't speak. That would be terrifying.
Well, at the same time, if you don't remember anything, it might not be
it's
all that
like
terrifying.
You're a newborn.
Yeah.
Like, you just, I'm 23, but I just popped out of the womb. That's crazy to me.
This next one, she falls into a coma every time she says, "I love you." A devoted mother is battling a rare medical condition that puts her into a coma every time she tells her children, "I love you." Her name is Wendy Richmond. She's 53, slips into a waking sleep that leaves her almost paralyzed every time she becomes emotional or wants to laugh or cry.
Oh my God.
I guess the drugs that treat her are pretty expensive and not funded by her local NHS trust, meaning that she has to shut off her emotions to avoid collapsing. She's from Pittsmore, Sheffield, and has suffered from sleep-related illness, cataplexy, and narcolepsy since her late teens, but was diagnosed only in her 30s. It's rare, and I guess most cases go unrecognized and unreported. Apparently, experts believe there could be up to 30,000 people like this in Britain. A lot of these seem to happen.
What's going on in Britain? What happened there
it's that
in the
fog
past?
over London.
I guess so. Maybe it's those mosquitoes in the fog. They're just biting people and giving them weird coma-like diseases. I don't know.
I don't know. This one I really like. It's the Croatian girl who woke up from a coma speaking fluent German. A teenager went into a coma and awoke speaking another language. The case of Sandra Ralick, I guess she was 13, has doctors baffled. She spoke Croatian before, but since waking up from her 24-hour coma, only a day,
wow,
she has been unable to speak Croatian, which is her,
her
actual
native
language,
yeah.
But is able to communicate perfectly in German. Her parents say she had only just started studying German at her school in Knin, K-N-I-N, southern Croatia. Local hospital chief Dujamir Marasovic said, "We are still trying to find out what caused the coma and why she has apparently forgotten how to speak Croatian."
That's pretty intense.
There's another one where there's 3 different people, and this girl is, I don't think, one of the ones mentioned in the opposite article, but they all wake up speaking a totally different language. So it's it kind of sucks, what you have to give up. But at the same time, it's instead of going to school, you can take a coma and wake up and be fluent.
It's like the accelerated course. Mm-hmm. Go into a coma, learn this new language.
Wake up, be awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's we moved to Germany, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Croatia. But, she was from Croatia, but I don't know. I mean, she was only 13, and it was only a 1-day coma, so she has to learn her native language again, but I guess
that could help her later in life,
Yeah, I mean, you're only 13. It's not like you went to a super traumatic experience like a lot of the other people.
Right.
This is the one that I said you're going to like. This is with the granddad.
Okay.
It's titled The Granddad Who Became a Sex Addict After Waking Up from a Coma. An 81-year-old granddad has been put under house arrest by his family after a bizarre accident turned him into a sex addict. Angelo De Luca was in a coma for 4 days after he fell out of a plum tree at the family home in Biasca, Switzerland.
What the hell was he doing in a plum tree?
I don't know. First thing I'm going to say is, judging by the name, Angelo De Luca, and just the name of the town, Biasca, unless I'm pronouncing it wrong, all that sounds Spanish to me until you say Switzerland. And I read this before and I forgot it was from Switzerland, but then reading it again, I was like, this guy's Spanish, but apparently he's from Switzerland. But coming around from an operation, his family was horrified to watch their devoted widower dad turn into a randy teenager again. Sex-mad Angelo blew over 3,000 pounds of his savings in one session at a local brothel after falling head over heels for a hooker young enough to be his granddaughter.
Holy crap.
I mean...
I think that would be the situation I would want to be in.
I mean... Oh no, I'm a sex addict. I mean, what is it? He's 81. I mean, why not? Like, you really gonna put your dad under house arrest? It's his life savings.
Yeah,
what they want, like the.
If he wants to go hump the rest of his life away, just let him do it.
I mean, it won't last too long.
Yeah,
81. Your heart's gotta give out eventually. I mean,
let him be happy.
Like, what do they want? Like the will?
That could be, but if he's spending all his money, that's
put him under house arrest. Because he's spending all of his money being happy. Like, you guys are dicks. But his son Daniel has taken control of his dad's 2 houses and bank accounts after judges ruled that his sex addiction made him unfit to govern his own affairs. Wow. Again, I guess they use pounds in Switzerland, but again, European.
This is all... what the hell is going on over there?
I don't know. I mean...
I'm going to move there. I can become a sex addict.
Well, Switzerland's a nice place to live in general, but apparently hookers are not a thing that are unwelcome there. You can... Actually, I think America's one of the only places that really makes it illegal.
I mean, you can go to some of these European countries and go to a window and be like, yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, but what makes that good... and what makes it stupid that America makes it illegal is the fact that in other countries, I think Russia does it, where they send a van around to like the women on the street, like the actual like just straight up prostitutes that you find on the corner.
Yeah.
And they test them monthly for AIDS and other diseases. Whereas in America, because it's illegal, they don't do that. So it's happening anyway, but instead of regulating it and making any kind of taxes off of it or anything to help boost the economy, they just illegalize it, and now these women are running around with diseases or whatever, and you're not making money off it. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's a victimless crime, just like marijuana and
but
half the other shit they could be taxing and making money off of.
The fun stuff they gotta make illegal.
Yeah, because why not? But
you just can't smoke or fuck anything that you want to fuck,
or what you want to smoke.
Exactly.
But don't worry, you can be prescribed any kind of pill.
Oh, yeah, you can be a pill addict from your doctor, but you can't go smoke weed and, it's just
with no bad side effects. It could cure cancer if you get, the hemp oil treatments.
But here, die a horrible death and we'll give you these...
Well, it's like, there's no money in a cure. They want to make money off the treatments, which is exactly what... I mean, this guy, I feel ashamed I don't remember his name right now, but it was just recently he bought the rights to an AIDS medication and spiked it up by like 500 or 5,000%.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a dick
Everyone
move.
saw that.
Whoever you are, you're a dick.
Yeah, well, I think they put it back down because of the extreme backlash that still obviously going to come. But he was basically, his reasoning behind it was straightforward. Like, why weren't they charging this much? Like, people need it. They're going to pay it. Like, yeah, you're right. You're also a fucking piece of shit. Like, I mean, I also think, I don't want the world to become overpopulated or anything. And I agree with natural selection, but not in that sense. Like, if we have the power to help somebody, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, like a hip surgery in America costs enough to where I think I saw a thing where you could move to Spain, get hip surgery, run with the bulls, break your hip again, get your hip replaced again, then fly back to America after living there for like 2 or 3 years or something like that, and still have spent less than the original hip surgery in America.
Wow. Yeah,
we charge an outstanding amount of money for a lot of things.
It's all big business. It's ridiculous. Let's move to Canada.
Well, yeah, I've been saying that, but I don't know how to go about that. So, Moving on. The crash victim who woke up 19 years later.
Whoa.
The picture of him, it doesn't look like he's doing too well now, if that's a recent picture. But I did read this before, and it's still a good story. He says mum, so I'm guessing again, this may be another British tale.
Yeah.
Man awoke from a coma after 19 years, turned to his mother, who was at his bedside, and said, "Mum." Terry Wallace, 39 years old, then uttered the word Pepsi, followed by milk.
He was thirsty.
For something. Mr. Wallace was 19 and had just celebrated the birth of his daughter when, on Friday the 13th, July 1984, the truck he was traveling in slewed through a road barrier and plunged 25 feet into a creek.
Oh my God.
It was 24 hours before the truck was found. He was left paralyzed from the neck down and in a coma. So I think that's why he's like that. I think he actually is more functional now, but his body's paralyzed. So, despite doctors giving him little chance of regaining consciousness, Mr. Wallace's parents and his wife, Sandy, put him in a rehabilitation center. Every other weekend, they drove him to their farm 26 miles away, where they talked to him in the belief that familiar surroundings might restore him back to consciousness. 4 weeks ago, which again, I don't know when this article was, probably not very recent, Mrs. Wallace went to the center for what she believed would be a typical visit. It was then when her son opened his eyes and spoke. Mr. Wallace from Arkansas, so this is actually America, is talking freely and getting to know his daughter Amber, who is now 19. It continues to say, the brain damage he suffered in the accident has left him with poor short-term memory. And perhaps, inevitably, he remained stuck in 1984. So I guess he didn't really make a full recovery, mentally. When asked by his mother who the president was, he replied, Ronald Reagan. A particular fact, he wrecked on Friday the 13th. And 19 years later, he started talking on Friday the 13th.
Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
Well, at the same time, is it a unlucky day or a lucky day now?
Yeah.
You gotta think.
Hopefully it's lucky day, because that's my next court date. Just saying.
Oh yeah, it is. Going back to the previous podcast,
crap.
people. This one I'm going to skim over again. This is the last one on this article. It's titled "The Man Who Chose to Be in Coma." I think it should be a coma, but
why would you choose that?
Well, it explains. After years of excruciating pain that drove him through thoughts of suicide, John Roach decided to gamble on a controversial new treatment, a ketamine-induced coma.
Isn't ketamine like the date rape drug?
I believe it might be, yeah. Well, that puts you to sleep.
It makes
but
sense.
I mean, if you overdose somebody on it, I'm sure they won't wake up for a while.
You constantly have it pumped into your system, I guess.
But I guess he had chronic pain. He suffered from neuromuscular disorder called reflux sympathetic dystrophy, RSD. He went to a medically induced coma, a surgical anesthetic and hallucinogen sold illegally as Special K.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know. It kind of just went into that. It was kind of controversial, according to this whole thing I'm skimming over, but he's a retired phone company worker, had tried surgery, physical therapy, and heavy doses of pain medication, including Oxycontin, codeine, and fentanyl. I don't know. A lot of these words are too big for me.
I'm glad you're reading them, not me.
When nothing worked, he thought of ending it all. Back home now, John is amazed that he's been virtually pain-free, getting regular ketamine booster injections at non-coma levels from his physicians, Schwartzman and Dr. Anthony Kirkpatrick. He has removed a protective compression sleeve he wore for years and can once again wear his watch and wedding ring. So apparently it was that painful. He couldn't wear his watch or his wedding ring without being in pain.
I guess that's a good reason to...
Yeah, I mean, that definitely, I could see that making you suicidal after a while. You can't...
instead of being addicted to all these pain pills and...
Yeah, I'm wearing my wedding ring right now, and sometimes it gets in the way. But if that was to be painful, this one especially, being as heavy as it is, I could only imagine.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, it would be That would be not a fun life. Best of all, he can walk hand in hand with Rosemary and scoop up his granddaughters for hugs. So that's a pretty happy ending.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was more of an experimental route that the doctors went on to try to help this guy instead of, like I said, having him just be in terrible pain and suicidal all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they took a risk, and it apparently worked out. He's like, it said 50 at the point that was written, so... Again, not entirely sure when that was written, but I'm on the other article now, and this one doesn't have like really good pictures or very descriptive names. It's just the actual patient's name.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do believe a couple of these were ones that were already brought up in the other article, but it's like a different writing on the story.
Different take on them, maybe?
And they actually bring up different details, and sometimes they leave other ones out. So if I skim over them, I'll try to remember and bring it back up. This guy was given a 30% chance of recovering. He was in a coma for a decent amount of time, but he was 60. He was a 60-year-old retired baker. His name is Sam Carter. He fell into a coma from severe anemia, which I don't know. Usually, like, they find that out and just give you some
enough blood cells or blood cells anyway.
If you're anemic, you can't clot. Like the one kid I got into a physical altercation with in high school, I forgot he was anemic. No, he was a hemophiliac. So anemic is you don't have enough red blood cells.
Yeah, so it makes you weak and feel like crap.
Yeah,
generally.
Kelsey's anemic. My wife. Well, not all the time. She's not right currently, but she's been anemic before. I think I was actually anemic when I was really young. But you have low iron, basically. They give you iron supplements. So usually, I think they find that out and medicate you. But apparently, this guy didn't get that lucky. He was in the hospital for a while. 30% chance of recovery. The doctor suggested to his wife that she should play some music for him. So his wife got a set of headphones, put them on her husband, and she played the classic by the Rolling Stones, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And amazingly, once the song was played, Sam opened his eyes. So he was in a coma for a decent amount of time, apparently, and that snapped him out of it.
The Rolling Stones
saved
his life.
Yeah, like what kind of world are we going to leave behind for Keith Richards? Because he is never going to die.
No, he's immortal. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, he's never going to die.
No.
But I guess Sam says that the song gave him a new energy, and he pulled out of the coma. He doesn't remember much from the coma, but he remembered hearing that song. The song also had special meaning to him, as it was the first single he ever bought when he was 17 years old. And it gave him the push he needed to wake up.
I guess for everybody, it's just different. Wake you up. Telling your mom to fuck off. Listen to the Rolling Stones.
I like that one a lot because I'm a musician, obviously nowhere near as big as the Rolling Stones, but I mean I can appreciate music, and I personally love the Stones, and that's just cool to me. Like I like the when they say like certain smells and stuff like that can trigger certain memories.
Yeah,
like when I smell grass being cut and stuff like that, I think of my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And him riding his rideable mower and stuff like that. So it's just cool. Like maybe that, like to me, it's like he probably heard that and it brought him back to like his childhood. You know, when you're 17 and like I'm only 24 now, and I can remember being 17 and being way more active than I am now. I feel like a piece of shit half the time. I'm so lazy. Like, so I can imagine, like, 60 years old, and like, you get like a flashback to being 17 and like wanting to be, especially like back in like the 60s and stuff. Like, although I can't actually remember when that song came out. That might have been the 70s. So, I mean, I like that one. I don't know. I like music, so I like that. This one, I could sum it up real quick. Her name is Sarah Thompson. She was 32 years old, and she had a blood clot, and she didn't die, though. She went into a coma, and when she woke back up, she always felt like it was 1998, which is...
So she couldn't progress in time.
Yeah. Like she went into a coma in 2012 when she was 32.
Oh, so she reverted back to 1998.
So, and she woke up, and she thought her favorite band was still the Spice Girls, and that they were still together.
That's not cool.
And she didn't know that Michael Jackson was dead. A lot of weird stuff like that, and
I can imagine stuff like that could mess you up. Like if you had a family member die, you think they're still alive.
well, it gets into her family members actually. Thompson was 19 years old, had just given in 1998. She was 19 years old, had just given birth to her first son, and was still with her ex.
Oh.
So when her children came in, she was expecting that her eldest would be a baby. Instead, he was 14 years old. She didn't even remember the other two children at all. And as for her husband, she thought he was someone who worked at the hospital.
That must make her kids feel like crap.
Well, yeah.
I don't know who
like
you are.
I mean, I'm sure like her husband was, I guess she was in a coma for like 14. Or no, she wasn't in a coma for that long. She just reverted back as if it was 14 years prior. So, I don't know. I guess like her husband was more than likely trying to be understanding and help her out. But it actually goes on to say, outside of the hospital, she acted like a teenager. She threw tantrums and was rebellious. She listened to loud rock music and dyed her hair wild colors. So, like anybody today, anyway.
Yeah.
She said it took a while, but she is readjusting to her life and has re-fallen in love with her husband. So,
well, it had a happy ending at least.
Yeah, still like a decent ending.
At least she didn't go jump back with her ex or whatever like that,
And like 3 years later, after it's too late to get back with her husband, realized that there's a reason why he was an ex.
Yeah.
They're usually called Y's now. This one is just three people's names. This is the one I was bringing up with the different. I believe this is the one with the different speech. It's Ben McMahon, maybe McMahon, or so it's either McMahon or McMahon, and Sandra Ralick, which is actually the Croatian girl.
Yep.
So it does bring her up, and Michael Boatwright. I'm just going to sum up real quick because this is actually a very long, well, not very long, but definitely longer than the other ones. Everyone basically in this story had gone into a coma and woke up speaking a different language fluently, and a lot of them actually were incapable of speaking their original language. A couple of, I think the one guy could speak both, but I think the other two, including the girl
that would
from
be
the
an asset, definitely. We could speak both still. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
I think that guy was actually in a coma the least. Actually, no, because the Croatian girl was only in there for 24 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think he was actually in there for like a week. But I believe one of the guys could speak all the languages. I'm just trying to speed through this because this podcast is much longer than the previous ones. So this next guy is a jazz pianist who moved to New York in 1977 at the age of 21. In the early 90s, Hirsch went public about being diagnosed with AIDS. In 2008, the disease wreaked havoc on Hirsch, and he contracted HIV dementia, but recovered from that. Then in June, his blood oxygen levels became really low, and he went into a septic shock. As each of his organs started failing, Hirsch fell into a coma. He was under for 2 months before he finally woke up. After that, he was on a feeding tube for 8 months.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, he was awake, so I don't know how conscious he was. Didn't really get into that, but I guess if you're still out of it, wouldn't suck too bad. But if you're, like, wide awake and you can't fucking feed yourself, that would suck.
You're conscious, but not
you can't
really
do anything with your body. You're like,
you're
awake
mentally
vegetable
there. Exactly. You're a potato.
that could think.
Yeah.
The 10 months in bed completely ravaged his body and his motor function, so I actually might get into it. Over the next year, Hirsch worked hard at his physical therapy, and he kept practicing the piano. Interestingly enough, the piano helped him get better. He said it gave him something to strive and work for. By 2010, he was performing again. To researchers, it was interesting because Hirsch remembered 8 dreams from his coma, and he wrote the 90-minute concert, My Coma Dreams, quote unquote, based on what he remembered. While people do remember dreams from comas, Columbia University's Dr. Rita Sharon said that words don't exactly explain what a coma dream is like. Music may offer even further insight into the secrets of coma and thinking while unconscious.
Maybe it's kind of like, what is it, that dreaming where you can control your dreams?
Lucid dreaming?
Lucid dreaming?
I don't think it was like that. I think it's basically saying like he remembers dreams that he had while in a coma, so he wrote about them. I mean, maybe he had lucid dreaming, but I think he just remembered dreams that he had had while in a coma.
Just very vividly remember them.
Yeah, well, at least those 8 dreams, which he apparently was able to write a very long song about.
Yeah.
So that's probably interesting to listen to.
That's pretty impressive.
I wonder if it's something, if you could find it on like YouTube or something like. I'd watch that. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe
see what he was dreaming about through music.
Yeah, like depending on like how good his lyrics are, that could be very awesome. This one's a lot harder for me to skim through, so I tend to have to actually read these ones a bit more. Jarrett Carland. On August 16th, 2009, 17-year-old Jarrett Carland and his best friend were in a car crash. His best friend was killed, and Carland... Oh, this one... Okay, I remember this one. It's pretty good. His best friend was killed, and Carland went into a persistent vegetative state. Doctors said there was a very good chance that he would never wake up. Carland underwent therapy, and part of that therapy was listening to music. This is a reoccurring theme.
Yeah, definitely.
In the care center where Carland stayed, the other patients listened to soft and gentle music, but Jarrett's parents blared country music legend Charlie Daniels. I'm not a country fan by any means, but this is like kind of like older school country where I could actually
Devil
respect
went down
it.
to Georgia.
Yep, that's exactly the song they played actually. So it says specifically his classic song, "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." After lying in a coma for 4 months, his parents got a reaction from that song, and eventually Jarrett came out of his coma. 6 months later, the Riverbend Music Festival in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Jarrett got to meet the man who helped him while he was in his coma, Charlie Daniels. Jarrett's family says they expect him to make a full recovery.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like super interesting about it. It's just cool to hear that a guy got kind of like, screwed with life and then woke up and got to meet someone he obviously idolized.
Yeah, and just to think that music has that effect on the brain.
That's a lot better than meeting
your brain up. Yeah.
That's a lot better than like, the Make-A-Wish Foundation where you get to meet
John C.
I'm gonna totally add that.
Oh, you should.
In the next one is Jan. This I'm never gonna be able to pronounce that. Gruzebski. Last name Grzebski.
Whoa.
Yeah, they threw that together. First name's Jan. Jan.
So Jan apparently was in a coma, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
that's the main theme of this topic. In 1988, while working on the railroad, Jan received head injuries while trying to connect 2 railroad cars. The picture actually looks like I would not want my head there.
What?
Yeah, that looks.
I don't even want to know.
No, he didn't die, so that's astonishing. I mean, look at that picture.
That's luck. Train cars are ridiculously large.
Well, according to a report coming out of his home I can't pronounce that name. It's in Poland, so sorry for you Polish viewers, but you guys don't do anything intelligently. You can't name anything intelligently. It's like
Consonants all over the place.
It's Dzialdowo.
What the crap?
Yeah, in Poland. So, apparently, according to that article, he was in a coma for 19 years, like the other guy that we had previously discussed. His wife tenderly moved him every hour so he would not get bed sores. I do like this story because it kind of calls bullshit on reporters for exaggerating things, but we're about to get to that. It says that she would move him tenderly, every hour or so that he wouldn't get bed sores. And then he woke up, and his words, and the world was completely new to him. Poland was no longer a communist country, and he had to be introduced to his 11 grandchildren. The story was picked up by news organizations around the world, including the Associated Press and the BBC. However, after the story made headlines, Google claimed the stories were complete exaggerations. He had been in a coma for only 4 years, not 19.
Oh, no.
When he woke up from the coma, he was still mute and paralyzed, but was completely aware of what was going on around him. He watched television and knew that Poland was no longer communist. So, they exaggerated as if he was in a coma for the entire time, and even the full time that he was in a paralytic state.
He was
conscious. And it was also not as long. That combined with the 4 years he was in a coma, it was still not as long as the 19 years that they claimed him to be in it.
So what they're saying is, what, his wife fabricated?
Nope, it's what the press fabricated.
Oh.
It's interesting because his story was already pretty amazing. He woke up from a coma after 4 years, then had 11 more years of being paralyzed and mute. So a total of 15 years, which is 4 years less than what they claimed of him being in a actual coma. He was finally talking and even learning to walk. When the reporter who broke the story was asked about the inaccuracies, she said her version of the story was correct. So she's arguing with the guy who lived it. Also, she said that there are different types of comas, including ones where people stay asleep and ones where they wake up sometimes. Doctors confirmed descriptions of his disability. So basically, the doctor agreed with the patient.
So just to get a good news story out of it and recognition for the news story, these people made up crap about it.
Yeah, made it a lot worse than it was. Oh, this one's
not even cool, reporters.
No, I mean they do it all the time, but that's it's one thing to make something up and kind of make it, boost your own stuff, but then to actually argue with the guy who lived it. Like, I mean, you're telling this guy that he's lying.
Yeah, you're a liar that, you
knew
what was going on.
Yeah, you were in a coma. He's like, nah, I saw your report. You suck. And she's like, nah. Like, how do you...
So you're confused, sir.
You don't know what a coma means. You could be awake and walking, you in a coma. Like, she's an idiot. Like, but she was Polish.
Whoa.
Sorry, people. Moving on. Gary Dockery. He was 33 years old when he was one of two officers from Walden, Tennessee Police Department called to a domestic disturbance on September 17th, 1988. When he approached the house, he was shot once in the head.
Ouch.
So, as far as I know, most domestic dispute cases tend to be usually like a husband and wife arguing or something along those lines. So I can imagine, like, I took criminal justice for a few years, and I heard about quite a few of these stories, actually. It tends to, this is when...
they're the most dangerous situations.
This is when they tend to get hurt the most, officers, as they show up to something that shouldn't be as climactic as they turn out to be. So I can only imagine, like, the mindset. You're like, all right, we gotta go break these two idiots up, and then you get out of your car and just get shot in the head. But this one's actually really amazing because of what ends up happening after which. The officer did CPR and called an ambulance. The other officer did CPR and called an ambulance. Nez got him to the hospital, and doctors were forced to perform a surgery that removed 20% of his brain.
What?
However, it was too risky to remove the bullet or the skull fragments, and he ended up in a vegetative state for over 7 years, which I think is fairly understandable.
Yeah, you got shot in the head,
and there was fragments of bone and a bullet in the remainder of your brain. On February 11th, 1996, Gary's family was arguing in his room about what to do. This is actually kind of a sad story by the end, by the way. I'm just going to let everyone know. Don't get your hopes up. It's happy, and then it's really sad. Even with all the stuff going on with police officers currently in modern American society, this is still fairly sad. So February 11th, 1996, Gary's family was arguing in his room about what to do about an illness he had contracted, apparently while still in a vegetable state. They were trying to decide if it was best to go ahead with the surgery to remove some of the fluid or simply let him just pass on and let him die finally.
Yeah.
That's when Gary started talking. Over the next 18 hours, he talked to his family, whom he recognized. He recognized his sons, who were 13 years old and 5 years old when he went into a coma, and had aged to 20 years old and 12 years old when he woke up. So he still recognized them and knew immediately who they were. He remembered things from his past, like the names of his horses, and he remembered camping trips. Apparently, he even was looking forward to the next year's annual camping trip. He didn't remember the shooting and wasn't aware of how much time had passed. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess I assume he could have kind of guessed based on the kid's age. But,
Yeah, apparently recognized him. They probably had,
well, 20 years old from
features.
12. I mean,
That's a
he
big
had to have had
jump.
like facial hair, or at least stubble or
Something.
something. I don't know. Either way, you recognize him. So that all sounds pretty happy and whatever. But then this very last bit is where it gets kind of sad.
Am I going to get depressed now?
I hope not. It probably. However, after those 18 hours, Gary began to talk less, although he was more aware and was learning how to use a motorized wheelchair. Sadly, just a year after speaking, Gary died from a blood clot in his lung on April 15th, 1997.
That sucks.
Yeah, so he spent...
Pulled through and then a blood clot.
Basically got shot over probably something fucking stupid.
For nothing, yeah.
Wakes up, is able to talk, recognizes his kids, kind of loses that ability somehow. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a surgeon or brain surgeon or anything like that, but somehow loses that ability slightly, and then a year later dies from a blood clot.
That sucks because his family probably got their hopes up.
Oh, I could imagine.
Doing
like,
great, and then all of a
all
sudden...
happy, yeah. He's finally awake, and then... Yeah, at least they got like that last year, I guess,
Yeah.
you know? His kids got to see their dad one more time after 7 years,
Yeah.
so... At least like the one kid, you know, the kid was, he was 12, he was, 5 when he went into a coma? So, this kid hadn't seen his dad since he was 5, gets to see him again for a year when he's 12.
Yeah, at least he had some memories of his dad that, you know, wasn't him just laying there.
This next one is a girl, she was, a vivacious 18-year-old college freshman who had an incredible lust for life. She was popular and attractive. This is in 1984.
Good year.
On September 21st, she was leaving a bar in Kansas and got hit by a car, and it knocked her into oncoming traffic.
Oh.
Or incoming traffic, it says. The driver, who was drunk, fled the scene. Her skull was crushed when a second car hit her. But she didn't die. She was in a coma for a month. Her parents chose to keep her alive, even being told that she would probably never wake up again. Sarah was moved into a nursing home in 1985. She learned to swallow and didn't need a feeding tube or anything for a while. They tried to teach her how to communicate with blinks, which apparently she would do occasionally, but on the whole was mostly...
Like the yes and no's.
I'm guessing. It doesn't really get super in detail, but I'm guessing that's what it meant. But she would do that occasionally, but for the most part was pretty unresponsive. Another woman ends up coming in. Her name was Pat Rinkin, and she tried to get this girl to communicate more, and was trained in speech therapy. Every day for 4 years, Rinkin would work with Sarah and encourage her anytime she made any noise. A year after she started working with the coma girl, Sarah started screaming. That's the girl who was in a coma. But these screams weren't a bad thing. It was actually how she was communicating. She was learning how to communicate through screams.
Oh, because she probably couldn't know how to speak
she wasn't,
or anything?
I'm guessing she still wasn't very mentally there.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's friend has gone through some head trauma recently, and he's nowhere near the same guy that he used to be, but he's a lot more responsive than a lot of these people. He was in a coma for like a week or so, actually, so I have a bit of a personal connection with this kind of stuff, but he's not as bad as a lot of these people. But right now, I mean, like, head trauma patients, they have a hard time with their emotions. Like, he gets really agitated very easily, and he acts kind of physically towards things. So, like, if he gets mad, like, he might hit, and apparently that kind of becomes a pattern. Like, if they hit, it kind of becomes... They don't know how to
handle it.
Yeah, and it becomes more and more frequent over the years, and he seems to have a really hard time with that. I mean, of course, everyone's very optimistic and trying to hope for the best with him, but this girl started screaming, so I'm guessing it's not that she was mentally there and couldn't speak. I'm guessing it's just that, like, to me, it's like she was more of like a young child who didn't know how to speak. Right. And her only form of
trying to get
communication
attention.
Yeah. Because it said that she would do it basically if her parents were leaving the room or if the TV was on the wrong channel. So it's basically, it was how she would let you know that she's unhappy.
Yeah, it was like a tantrum almost.
Yeah, which is still an improvement over nothing. So
yeah, blinks.
On January 12th, 2005, Sarah said her first word since her skull was crushed. Pat was reading a story to Sarah when another patient interrupted them. Pat told the patient that she'd be with them shortly, if that was okay. Then Sarah repeated the word okay. After almost 20 years of being suspended between a coma and reality, Sarah was talking again. After a month of working with her, Sarah called her mom and dad at home, who were overwhelmed to hear the voice of their daughter again. Due to the injuries she received in the accident and the years spent in a coma, her body was greatly affected and she uses a wheelchair. She speaks only a couple of words at a time, but can communicate with people. Although she was almost 40 years old when she came out of the coma, she still believes that she's 19 years old. Which, I mean, that would suck. You went into a coma at 19, and you finally start to get a grip on things again at the age of 40.
Yeah.
That's a big gap.
Time. But at least it's, a happier ending than the last story.
Well, yeah. The last one's pretty depressing, but this one is another one that I said we brought up before. It's Terry Wallace. July 1984, 19-year-old Terry Wallace and his friend were in a horrible car crash when their car plunged into a creek. His friend was killed, and Terry, who was found the next day, was left in a coma. His family, including his wife and 6-week-old daughter, took care of him as the world continued for 19 years. This is the one when he woke up. This is the Friday the 13th. Wake up on Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Creepy.
Yeah, creepy and or good luck. Nah. But this one doesn't get into the Friday the 13th part, but it does give other information. It says it was until June 11th, 2003 when Terry first started talking. The first he said was mom. Then when he saw his mother, it was followed by Pepsi and then milk. Same thing as the other story. Eventually got to the point where he was speaking in full sentences. His memories were good, but he was completely unaware of how much time had passed, just like it said. Trying to get a hold of the fact it was 2003. It talks about how much it changed to him. Ronald Reagan was president. He woke up second Bush was president. He missed the whole Clinton administration, September 11th.
Yeah, that's gotta be crazy trying to wrap your head around all this other stuff that
it's
happened.
Like, what's his name? Austin Powers,
Yeah.
He had to watch all these videos, Snoop Dogg on weed, Snoop Dogg off of weed, Snoop Dogg back on weed. There's a lot to break in.
It is.
But he was left paralyzed, but talks fairly coherently and in full sentences. Doctors are unsure why he woke up, but he has been studied quite a bit because of his unique story. Doctors believe that over 19 years, Terry's brain essentially rewired itself. Once there were enough connections, it made his brain, quote, wake up, unquote.
That's pretty cool.
That's a better description than the otber reason, which they gave none. So
yeah.
But the other one did give other cool facts on that article. So that guy's, he was ranked 2 on this one. I can't remember what he was in the other one. He was higher up, so he was like within the top 5 in the other one. This is the last one that I have. This is the one I brought up earlier with the murder case. It's I guess it's pronounced Haley for her first name, Haleigh, and Potre, Poutre. At the age of 4, she was taken out of her mother's care and given to her aunt Holly. So it was her step uncle, or maybe just her uncle.
Well, she was only 4 years old?
When she was taken out of her mother's care.
Oh, okay.
She may have been the same age when this all goes down. I can't remember. We're going to get into that right now.
Okay.
She lived with her aunt's boyfriend, then husband, Jason Strickland, and 3 other children for years until Holly officially adopted her niece. This was allowed even though between September 2001 and 2002, Massachusetts Social Services received over a dozen calls regarding Haley's well-being. The 8-year-old was often covered in bruises and looked unkempt. When they investigated, Holly said that Haley was just bruising herself. So at this point, she's 8.
Yeah, she just thrown herself downstairs and grabbed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, there's no actual excuse at this point to the bruise. It's just that she did it to herself somehow. But at this point, she's no longer 4. She's 8. So she made it at least that far in their care without being in, coma-induced.
Yeah.
On September 11th, 2005, Haley was 11. Okay, so she got to 11. She was brought into the hospital because she had lost consciousness. When the doctors examined her, they found that her brain was so badly damaged that it looked like she had been in a high-speed crash. The result of the injury put her into a coma, and the doctors were sure she would stay in a permanent vegetative state. On September 20th, Holly and Jason Strickland were arrested for assault.
Good.
Yeah, just after being bailed out of jail. This gets so ridiculous.
This
is a reason
ridiculous.
why
They were bailed out of jail and then arrested again?
They were bailed out of jail. Holly went to her grandmother's. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to say is getting really interesting.
Okay.
They were bailed out. Holly, the aunt, went to her grandmother's house, and there they made a suicide pact. Her grandmother shot Holly, and then herself.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're talking about like Hitler style shit going on.
That's what?
Yeah, although that Hitler was cyanide and then a bullet, but they couldn't afford the cyanide.
I guess not.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess she would prefer death over jail time. But Strickland, the uncle or the husband of the aunt, whatever you want to call him, was now the only person facing assault charges, and the state was looking to remove Haley from life support, the little girl. However, since Strickland was her stepfather, he made a motion to become her de facto, quote-unquote, parent. In doing so, he was going to try and keep her on life support. One of the reasons he wanted to keep Haley alive was that if she died, he'd be charged with murder, like I brought up before. So
I don't understand how he wasn't charged with something before.
Well, he was being charged.
He was
but
being charged.
She wasn't dead, so he could be charged with murder. But I mean,
he was just charged with assault.
Assault is nowhere near as bad as murder.
No.
So he's like, looking out for himself. He didn't give a fuck about the kid, obviously. The state won, and Haley was taken off life support, which is a thing I brought up again earlier. Like, sometimes crazy shit happens when you take people off life support.
Yeah.
This happened to my dad's friend. He was taken off life support, and then he started breathing on his own and eating on his own. But she was taken off. Miraculously, she started to breathe on her own and was able to follow commands. Eventually, she got to the point where she was starting to smile, wave, and say a few words, but was confined to a wheelchair. This seems to also be a very
you seem to not get all your motor functions back.
My dad's friend is also confined to a wheelchair at the moment. So, yeah, it's a very reoccurring thing. Which is weird because nothing physical. Well, I mean, she was obviously beaten, but it was mostly brain damage and stuff with a lot of these people. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how much your brain controls your actual body.
Yeah, that in almost all these cases, these people are confined to wheelchairs for probably the rest of their life.
Yeah, you can't control your body without your brain.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows you how fragile you can really be. It's like, definitely some things are, to me at least, worse than death. I mean, a lot of people overcome things, without legs or being confined to a wheelchair, but some of these people, like, they never have, like, a normal life again and won't understand what a normal life is. So
yeah, and most of them don't remember their normal life beforehand. So
yeah, so
I
it's
guess
really
that
like,
becomes normal to them.
Yeah, I mean, to them,
That
but like
sucks.
when you put it into perspective, it's like, what is life for them now? It's like you're just being taken care of. But like the people who take care of you, like when they die, what? Like you go to the state,
Then what
and
happens?
then,
Exactly, what happens?
and you get tossed around like some nursing homes or care places that don't really care that much. It's whole topic's pretty depressing,
It's
but
a
very
shitty situation.
interesting.
It is very interesting.
She mostly communicates through a letterboard on a tray attached to her wheelchair now. So, she could communicate with people even at her young age. And, with all of her disabilities. Amazingly, after 2 years, she was able to testify at the stepfather's trial.
Awesome.
Yes, it was. Holly was believed to be the mastermind, so her aunt was the one, I guess, behind it, but the guy was still, doing what he did, and he was sentenced to 12 to 15 years in prison in November of 2008. Haley's case brought massive changes in how social services in Massachusetts looked at allegations of abuse. No shit.
Yeah.
When you have a kid constantly being reported, what it said, there was like a dozen cases?
Yeah, over a dozen.
In a year?
14 or something, they said?
And let me go back up real quick. Between September 2001 and 2002, they received over a dozen calls regarding her well-being. So within a year, over a dozen calls about abuse. And they were like, we have to review how we look at this.
You think? Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, maybe 1 or 2 calls, you're like, well, it's probably bullshit. But then after like 5 in a year,
wrong.
Are you not keeping record of these? Like,
I just don't care.
Because there's people that get, I mean, like, you had to deal with stuff recently with CPS and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've had to go through it with my life with people just accusing people of stuff. Mm-hmm. And you have to go through all this crap. But these people were accused for a full year over 12 times, and
nothing.
nothing happened. Like I said it before, and I've said it to you a few times now, bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
But apparently bad people just
Get away with everything.
And I don't even feel like karma has served its full sentence yet. 12 to 15 years for putting a kid and ruining this child's life.
Yeah.
Who didn't have a good life beforehand. I mean, but it does get on to be a little bit better for her. In September of 2010, at the age of 16, Haley was adopted by her foster parents, Keith and Becky Arnett, after being in their care for 2 years. So that's where it ends. I don't know.
So she got a family and she's safe.
Well, it doesn't get into how the life is with them, but I'm gonna hope.
I would hope
and assume
beating the shit out of her.
Yeah, that it's a good thing because I mean, foster parents don't have to adopt you.
Yeah.
So they chose that. So they obviously wanted her. So I'm hoping that they're nice caregivers. I mean, that girl's story is probably my favorite one. I like the fact that that was saved as number 1 on that article. So I don't know. I'm all of these are really interesting.
Yeah.
But that one, again, is probably my favorite. That one and the granddad.
Yeah. Those are the happier ones.
Well, hers ends happy. Hers is pretty brutal.
Happy. She had a crappy life up till,
at least now.
Up till now.
Well, a couple years back now. Actually, 2010. It's 2015 now. Wow. Yeah. I forget how old I'm getting. I'm still not that old, but I remember when Power Rangers were cool. Then
They're still cool.
No, all the new seasons suck. I can't stand it.
That's true.
But, yeah, I mean, some of them were pretty interesting. And you got this girl who at least came out of it and had a decent life. Then you got the old man who woke up and was a sex addict, which is just amazing to listen.
All the time. This is great.
Yeah, who needs Viagra when you got a coma? So his story is just fun to listen to. And then you got the people waking up and being able to speak completely different languages.
I
mean, they all had like a background in it, like they had started to learn it or had heard it, but weren't fluent in it by any means. But then they all woke up being fluent in it. Like the one girl was it wasn't Czechoslovakia, but either way, she woke up being able to speak
Croatia,
German.
I think.
Croatia, yeah, and she woke up being able to speak German. There was one I didn't bring up. I forgot where the guy. I think the guy was American, or maybe he was German, and he was learning Mandarin, a form of Chinese, and he woke up and was able to speak it fluently. And I believe
crazy difficult.
Yes, it is, and I believe that he's one of the people who was, or the guy at least, that was able to speak both languages when he woke up. But I think he was able to speak Mandarin. Actually, no, I think he was only able to speak Mandarin.
That's pretty incredible.
I'll post the links to the articles in the description so you guys can look it up and read them for yourselves for any inaccuracies or anything. I'm just skimming over it and drinking while I do so. So you guys can be more responsible and do your own research. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hey, what else you got to say about this?
The
3-year-old girl was the other one that I was going to say was interesting. That woke
the
up
smoker. That one is the one that intrigued me the most. Like how?
Well, that's just ridiculous.
When you're 3, like something like in her little brain, like told her like
maybe she like put herself in her head to be like her dad. Maybe
that's what I was thinking.
And drank and but then he quit and they moved and she still was addicted and cried about it.
That's one where I would like to see where she is now.
I would like to see YouTube videos of this.
Mm-hmm. Just her chain smoking.
I just want to see her purchase a pack of cigarettes with this guy putting on who's paying for it.
Yeah,
he's putting it on credit. It doesn't mean it's being paid for.
No,
so he's just like, whatever. Go ahead and smoke up, kid. It's just ridiculous. I couldn't imagine who lets the 3-year-old just wander the town.
Yeah, is she sneaking out at night, going to buy her cigarettes?
Well, it's a local store, so unless it's a gas station or something where it's open 24/7 or super late at night, if it's a corner store that's open at 6 a.m. and closed at 8 at night, she's just going there during
chilling
normal hours. And it's not the mom lived in a home or something like that. So I'm guessing they're either homeless or in some sort of situation
shelter,
like that. Yeah, shelter. So it's I don't know, her mom's not working, I guess. So it's you don't notice your daughter just goes missing and I just
or they just don't care. Who knows?
Maybe they can't afford a house because of their daughter's addiction.
Yeah, that.
Although it did say that they eventually did move to the other side of town. I don't know if they moved to another shelter or got their own place, but they moved away. He stopped smoking. She was still addicted. I mean,
the brain is a crazy thing.
It really is. Yeah, it could really modify a lot of things that you don't really think about.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys found this and the topics that we discussed as interesting as we did. And like I said, I'll put the description or in the links in the description. Fumbling over my words, starting to slur a bit, but yeah. So I'll have the links in the description. You guys can look it all up and go read all the stories for yourselves. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm P.
I'm Jay.
And I guess we're signing off. See you.
Bye.